Let me tell you a truth most shy away from, a truth that shakes the foundations of comfort. It is far more effective to be feared than to be loved, not because cruelty is admirable, but because fear endures. Love is fleeting, a delicate flame flickering in the breeze, warm but easily extinguished. People love when you satisfy their needs, they cherish you when you sacrifice for them, but once your value fades, so does their affection, slipping away like sand through their fingers. Fear is different. Fear cuts deeper. It lingers in the shadows of memory like a silent blade pressed lightly against the throat, reminding men of consequences beyond forgiveness. A man loved may command respect, but only until a single misstep. A man feared, his authority remains even after 10 mistakes, because fear does not seek apologies. It commands vigilance. Look throughout history. Leaders who inspired affection, those embraced with smiles and cheers, were often toppled, forgotten, or destroyed. They were soft, approachable, and kind, but history's pages rarely immortalize the gentle. Yet those who instilled fear, they etched their names into time's spine, not by kindness, but by becoming unforgettable forces. If you seek real power, abandon the pursuit of approval. Stop bending to please others. Stop apologizing for decisions too tough for the faint-hearted. Let them loathe you if they must, but let them never forget the storm you carry beneath your calm exterior. Let your silence resonate like a weapon cocked and ready. I do not call for heartless cruelty. That is the folly of tyrants drunk on domination. True fear is not chaos, it is calculated control. You want enemies whispering your name with trembling voices. You want allies admiring you from a distance, wary and respectful. Even those closest to you should hesitate, wondering, what will he do if crossed? That hesitation, that doubt, is your greatest shield and your sharpest sword. The feared man does not shout. His silence thunders louder than screams. His gaze pierces further than any word, and when he acts, it is swift, decisive, and irrevocable. Fear him not because you want to inflict pain, but because you could. A barking dog is weak. The lion is still. Be the lion, and if a choice must be made, always choose fear over love. Love is fragile. Fear endures. Remember this. A man loved inspires loyalty in times of peace, but a man feared commands it when the world burns. The world plays by no rules except the ones power enforces. Why then surrender to judgment, to softness, to sentiment? Let them whisper of your ruthlessness. They will obey nonetheless. People smile at kindness, but obey fear. They may admire the gentle man, but they follow the dangerous one. Mercy is a luxury reserved for the secure, a trap for the ascending. To show mercy too soon is to expose weakness. The kind ruler is consumed by those he rules, devoured in the shadows of deceit and ambition. The masses claim to value virtue, but beneath the surface, they crave strength. They do not rally behind the most moral, but behind the most dominant. To rise, you must weaponize perception. Let your silence sow dread. Let your mercy be an act of sovereignty, not supplication. Do not be cruel for cruelty's sake. Be the specter that no one can predict. Uncertainty is fear's twin. If your enemies cannot read your intentions, they cannot sleep. If your allies cannot guess your next move, they hesitate to betray. The unpredictable man is dangerous, and danger breeds respect even amid hatred. Consider a ruler who publicly punishes betrayal. His harshness straightens backs, silences conspiracies, and teaches all that treason has a price. Fear is not about inflicting pain. It's about the terrifying possibility of what might come. When feared, your presence alone warns. You can sit quietly, and men sweat. You can smile, and they wonder if it conceals a blade. You can forgive, but only after the penitent grovel. Punishments must be swift, without threats, speeches, or second chances. This is a man who acts, a man governed by control, not emotion. Some claim fear breeds hatred. True, but hatred is impotent beside fear. The man loved but not feared invites betrayal with a friendly smile. The man feared even by enemies is never underestimated. The world teems with manipulators, smiling assassins clothed in silk. To survive, you must be the shadow they dread. To dominate, you must forge your reputation into armor no blade can pierce. Let them know you could destroy them, then choose when and if to wield your power. That is true mastery. Never reveal fear, never plead, never justify your choices to those beneath your ambition. Let them be confused, afraid, and unsettled. That calmness is the stillness before the storm, the silence of a man who knows exactly what he is capable of. If they know you can ruin them with a word, if they have seen what happens when you are crossed, they will not test you. Fear builds walls where kindness builds doors. Fear enforces silence where compassion invites noise. When you enter a room, those who underestimated you grow quiet, not out of love, but out of dread. You are not their friend, nor their counselor, nor their savior. You are a force, a storm behind a composed facade, an empire cloaked in a smile. Be feared not because you cause pain, but because they know you could. The world says it's better to be loved than feared. That is a lie told by the weak, by those craving approval more than authority. If you must choose, choose fear. Love is a flame that flickers with opinion. Fear carves scars into memory. A man may cease to love you, but he will never stop fearing what you might do. In power's arena, that is worth more than all the love in the world. People betray those they love, but rarely betray those they fear. Betrayal demands courage. Fear kills courage before it can bloom. I do not say be cruel. I say be capable of cruelty. Let your name carry weight. Let it enter rooms before you do. Let them whisper. He doesn't speak often, but when he acts, it is final. The feared man does not chase respect, he commands it. He does not raise his voice, his presence alone alters the air. People adjust themselves not out of admiration, but because he is unpredictable. Unpredictability breeds tension, and tension is control. Want to be liked, entertain children, want respect. Become the ghost haunting the minds of your enemies, the nightmare they pray never visits. Do not confuse fear with chaos. The feared man is not mad. He is calm, silent, and coldly controlled. He does not tantrum. He gives warnings once. Then, if disrespected, he delivers swift, surgical punishment. Hatred will follow the feared man, yes, but hatred is passive. When combined with fear, it is powerless. They gossip, fantasize rebellion, but do nothing because fear paralyzes the mind. It turns insurrection into suicide. This is how the feared man wins, standing alone while others scramble for alliances. The loved man is vulnerable, a slave to opinion. He censors himself, compromises, pleads for approval. The feared man asks no permission. He decides, acts, and moves like a force of nature cutting through hesitation. Let them call you cold. Let them accuse you of heartlessness. While they throw words, you build empires. While they beg for likes, you command loyalty through presence alone. When chaos strikes, they will not call the one they love. They will seek the one they fear, because only the feared control the storm. Your choice, be loved and forgotten, or feared and immortal. Be agreeable and weak, or silent and dangerous. Be the man they cry for, or the man they dare never cross. The world rewards not goodness, but strength wrapped in silence, cloaked in mystery, wielded without apology. To be feared is not only action, it is aura. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it is silent, haunting, lingering. The truly powerful do not display strength daily. They merely make the world believe they could. What makes a man feared? Not the sword he carries, but the suspicion he might use it without mercy, without warning. Build the myth. Become the figure whispered about in the dark, the man who never flinches, never begs, never loses control. The man who, if betrayed, does not rant, he erases. To command a room, do not shout. Be the man no one wants to provoke. Let your silence be more dangerous than any threat. Fear is not chaos. It is calculated coldness, the art of restraint, with the capacity for devastation. Let them wonder, what is he thinking? Is he planning? Will he strike? Let their minds work for you. The feared man strikes rarely but always memorably. He is a strategist, not a reactor. One precise move outweighs 100 outbursts. Emotional men confuse rage with fear. They scream and shout, but fear is a legend, a reputation carefully built with mystery, discipline, and brutality when necessary. You need not be cruel to be feared, only dangerous to the wrong person. Let them know crossing you means no negotiation, no second chance. One betrayal, one disrespect, and you cut them out like a cancer, silently and completely. That is how fear is born. Fear thrives on unpredictability. When they cannot predict your reaction, they cannot manipulate you. When your silence hides a storm, they proceed with caution. They think twice before lying. They hesitate before betrayal. They adjust their plans, not because they love you, but because they fear losing control. That is your prize, control. The world belongs not to the kind or polite, but to those who master their emotions and master others through fear. Be the myth, the shadow they cannot define. Do not reveal your next move. Do not justify yourself. Let them wonder. Let your unpredictability protect you. Let your silence build tension. Let your calm invite suspicion. In a world of desperate pleas for approval, the feared man stands untouchable. Kindness is forgettable. Fear is permanent. Spend a lifetime giving and they may forget. But instill true fear and you become unforgettable. Fear carves memory, it leaves a mark. They may not love you, may never invite you, but they will never ignore you. Ask yourself, what do you want? To be loved for a moment or feared forever? The safer choice is fear, because love is optional, fear is absolute. Love depends on moods, opinions, feelings. Fear depends on your presence, your dominance, your unpredictability. Love makes people comfortable. Fear makes them respect your space. In a world of betrayal and masks, respect is worth more than affection. Don't be the man they approach easily or ask favors of without hesitation. Be the man they hesitate to challenge, the man they fear crossing, the man whose silence shifts the room, the man whose rare words carry the weight of fate. Fear creates power at a distance. Your name enters the room before you do. Do not let guilt soften your edge. They say fear is lonely, cruel, toxic. No, the real cruelty is bending until you break. The real loneliness is giving everything and receiving nothing in return. Fear filters the parasites. Those who stay respect you. Those who leave were never worth your time. Become the storm they prepare for, not the sunshine they exploit. This does not require violence, only the capacity for it. Control perception, and you control outcomes. In the modern world, fear is psychological, social, digital. It is walking away without regret. It is refusing to explain. It is the quiet confidence of a man who owns nothing and expects nothing detached, unbreakable. When you reach that state, the shift is undeniable. People stop playing games with you. They choose words carefully. They call you intense, distant, mysterious because you are unreadable. Good. Keep them guessing. Let them fear what they cannot understand. That fear will protect you more than loyalty ever could. Remember, those who are feared move the world. Those who are liked are moved by it. Power is not granted by kindness. It is seized through deliberate acts of dominance that leave no doubt about who controls the stage. Those who cling to the notion that love is superior to fear live in illusions. They are dreamers in a brutal reality, clutching at fragile threads that snap under pressure. The world is ruthless, a battlefield where strength dictates the rules. To wield influence is to accept that control requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of approval, softness, and sometimes compassion. Consider the subtle art of withdrawal. Fear thrives not only in actions but in what is withheld. Silence can be a more potent weapon than words. A refusal to explain, to justify, to plead, creates distance that unsettles. People hate uncertainty, but they fear it even more. When you withhold information, when you disappear without warning, when you make your presence rare and unpredictable, you become a puzzle wrapped in shadows. This obscurity breeds tension, and tension breeds control. Control is the currency of power. When people cannot anticipate your next move, they lose their advantage. They become hesitant, uncertain. This hesitation translates into respect, not born of affection, but of survival instinct. Survival instinct is primal. It does not negotiate with softness. It obeys fear. Those who seek power must master emotional restraint. Anger, desperation, even passion are luxuries that reveal vulnerability. The powerful remain composed even when chaos roars around them. They do not react. They respond with calculated precision. A calm man in a storm is terrifying. It is the stillness that precedes the tempest, the promise of destruction held in reserve. True power also demands patience. The feared man does not rush. He waits for the perfect moment to act when the cost of resistance is too high for his enemies. Timing is everything. Strike too soon, and you expose yourself. Strike too late, and you lose opportunity. The mastery of time is mastery over fate. Many confuse power with aggression. They believe force must be loud and brutal to be effective. The opposite is true. Power wielded quietly, like a shadow that lengthens without warning, is more devastating. A whispered threat is heavier than a shouted promise. The unknown makes men tremble. The feared man understands the psychology of control. He does not need to demonstrate power daily. Instead, he cultivates an aura, an invisible web of influence woven from reputation, mystery, and disciplined silence. This aura precedes him. It shapes how others perceive and react before he utters a single word. This reputation is fragile and must be carefully maintained. It requires consistency in action and restraint in impulse. A single lapse, a moment of weakness or indecision, cracks the armor. The world is quick to exploit cracks. But when managed correctly, fear becomes an invisible force field. It prevents challenges, deflects betrayal, and enforces loyalty through deterrence. People obey fear not because they love it, but because it threatens consequences worse than loss. Fear is a pact unspoken, yet binding. It declares that crossing the line will end in ruin. Power without fear is like a flame without heat, bright but harmless. Fear is the heat that burns beneath the surface, the simmering danger that no one dares ignite. Let us explore the dynamics of fear within relationships, personal, political, and professional. In intimate connections, love is often mistaken for power, yet love can blind. It softens the edges that must remain sharp. It invites vulnerability that others exploit. The feared partner commands boundaries that are not to be crossed. They hold silence as a weapon when needed. They do not negotiate respect. They demand it through presence and consequence. In politics, the difference between a loved leader and a feared leader is survival. Loved leaders are popular until the tide turns. Feared leaders are remembered long after their reign ends. They create order not through affection, but through discipline. The masses might grumble in secret, but public dissent is muted by the shadow of punishment. Order is not born from love. It is forged in fear. In business, power is wielded with the same principle. The admired CEO might enjoy fleeting applause, but the feared executive commands results. Employees work harder, rivals think twice, and partners hesitate before exploiting weaknesses. Fear in this context is not about tyranny, but about creating boundaries that protect interests and enforce accountability. To be feared does not require brutality. It requires resolve. The capacity to do harm is a deterrent, but more important is the capacity to withhold mercy when necessary. Mercy is a choice, not a right. It signals strength when granted, weakness when begged. One must also recognize the delicate balance between fear and hatred. While fear enforces control, hatred can ignite rebellion. The wise feared man must temper his approach to avoid becoming a martyr of resentment. Punishment must be just, predictable, and swift to prevent festering bitterness. Excess cruelty undermines authority. Calculated fear sustains it. Unpredictability enhances fear. Predictable men are easy to manipulate. Those who act on script invite challenges because they are understandable. The feared man disrupts expectation. He is a variable in every equation, a question mark in every conversation. This uncertainty paralyzes opponents and elevates allies' respect. Let us consider the role of language in fear. The feared man chooses words with surgical precision. He speaks rarely, and when he does, his voice carries weight beyond the meaning of words. Silence between his statements speaks louder than any declaration. This economy of speech fosters an image of control and intellect. Words are tools, not weapons to be wasted on emotion. Furthermore, nonverbal communication amplifies fear. A glance, a smirk, a slow, deliberate movement can unsettle even the bravest. The feared man's body language radiates confidence without arrogance. He does not need to raise his voice or flex muscles. His posture and calm demeanor command respect. Fear thrives in the minds of others. It is a psychological fortress, not a physical barrier. Therefore, the feared man must guard his mental state zealously. Doubt, insecurity, or hesitation will seep through and weaken the image he projects. Confidence is the lifeblood of fear. The moment doubt surfaces, fear dissipates. This brings us to the importance of self-mastery. To inspire fear, one must first conquer fear within. Weakness attracts predation. Strength commands respect. This inner fortress cannot be faked. Those who project false bravado will be exposed when pressure mounts. The journey to becoming feared is one of discipline, sacrifice, and relentless self-awareness. It requires distancing oneself from the need for approval, from the softness of empathy, from the distractions of sentimentality. It demands embracing solitude as a tool, not a punishment. The feared man often walks alone, but he does so because loneliness is a price worth paying for sovereignty. Fear is also a form of social control. It shapes behavior beyond direct command. People self-censor, self-regulate, and self-police out of fear of consequences. This indirect power is more efficient than overt oppression because it saves energy and avoids unnecessary conflict. Look at the greatest empires and corporations. Fear was their invisible scaffold. Not always fear of violence, but fear of loss of reputation, opportunity, or status. Fear of falling from grace keeps people in line. In modern times, fear has evolved. It no longer requires physical intimidation, but operates through economic leverage, social pressure, and digital surveillance. The feared man adapts, using new tools to project power across unseen networks. His presence is felt in algorithms, whispers, and silent judgments. Yet, the essence remains the same: presence, unpredictability, and control. A word on mercy, it is not an act of weakness, but of strategic generosity. Mercy must be granted from a position of strength, never desperation. It is a reminder that power is absolute and can be withheld at will. To give mercy is to demonstrate that you control not just punishment, but forgiveness. However, mercy given too freely breeds contempt. It invites challenges and erodes fear. The feared man is measured in his clemency, using it to reinforce hierarchy, not dismantle it. The feared man also knows when to disappear. Absence can breed fear more than presence. When you vanish, people imagine what you might be plotting, how you might respond. That unknown provokes anxiety and respect. To wield fear is to wield mystery. The most dangerous man is the one whose motives are opaque, whose actions are unpredictable, and whose silence is deafening. Mystery becomes a tool of control, because humans fear what they cannot understand. And yet, fear must be balanced with respect. The feared man does not seek hatred. He cultivates respect that borders on reverence. Hatred fuels rebellion. Respect fuels obedience. The line is thin but vital. Too much cruelty breeds hatred. Too much softness breeds weakness. The wise feared man walks this razor edge with grace. Remember that fear also demands responsibility. It is a heavy burden. Power is intoxicating, but it can corrupt if wielded without wisdom. The truly feared man uses his influence not only to protect himself, but to stabilize his environment. Fear must never become tyranny. It must be a tool of order, not chaos. When fear becomes unpredictable cruelty, it invites downfall. The powerful must guard against their own excesses, lest they become the monsters they once commanded. Consider the legacy you wish to leave. To be feared is to be remembered, not as a benevolent father or gentle friend, but as a force of nature, an unavoidable presence whose shadow shaped the course of events. Such a legacy transcends time, echoing through history's corridors. Power is never neutral. It is a choice to dominate or be dominated. To be feared is to choose dominion, to carve your name into the world, not with love's fleeting brush, but with fear's eternal chisel. And so I leave you with this: embrace fear not as a vice but as a virtue. Cultivate it carefully, wield it wisely, and let it become the foundation of your power. For in the end, it is not those who are loved who shape history, but those who are feared.